All right, let us now begin a heart-focused breathing technique. And so we will begin with this each morning, or each morning on Mondays. Just place your awareness in the area of your heart and begin to take slow, deep breaths. Then visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. Breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would. And take those deep breaths. Beautiful. There is no shortage of oxygen. So just take as much as you can and breathe it in. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Slow, deep, gentle breaths. And just visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. Breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would, a little deeper. Beautiful. If there are thoughts coming into your mind, allow them to pass through. This is not a time to engage them, but just simply allow them to pass through. And if these emotions that are triggered by these thoughts are unserving, then just dissipate them. Just allow your heart to transform them into neutral. At this point in time, it is you and the universe, that creative force that gave you birth. This is your time to spend with your Maker. Do not let worldly things come in your way. Just take those slow, gentle, deep breaths and spend some time with the Mother and the Father that created you. Slow, deep breaths. Allow your inner child to play with this creative force as you take these slow, gentle, deep breaths. That inner child of you has no responsibilities, and it has only one function, and that is to experience joy. Allow it to come out, and allow it to play with that creative force. Allow it to be nourished from that vantage point. Slow, deep breaths, and experience these breaths flowing in and out of your heart. Wonderful. Thank you so much for the 5 minutes. It went by pretty quickly. And Natalie, hello from Germany. And hello, Will and Lou. Good morning. And now for that I didn't know that moment. Today I picked a topic around your DNA. Hello, Joyce from Mount Shasta. Did you know your DNA has a personality? Now, of course it does, because you have 32 pairs of chromosomes in each cell in your body. And you have 100 trillion cells. Now, each chromosome has a DNA molecule. So you do the math, and there's a lot of DNA in your body, and the DNA is exactly the same from any part of your body. It's actually a blueprint, and it's the same DNA. So I wanted to share with you an experiment by a Russian scientist. It was done in the 1990s, so it wasn't too long ago, relatively speaking. So what the Russian scientist did, it took a vacuum container, a container with all the air pulled out. And when he did that, all that was remaining in there were these particles called photons. Now, photons are natural quantum particles that what the universe is made from, and it's really a light particle. So if you look at the glass on your left-hand side, those who are able to see it and not dialing in, we have a vacuum on the left-hand side glass, where all you see are these random particles of photons in it, and it's in a vacuum container. And so these are the kind of arranged in a random fashion, as you would expect, because there's nothing in it, and the photons in there are just something that the universe is made of. It's everywhere around us, and so it's no surprise that it was detected in this particular vacuum container with nothing in it. If you look at the next middle one, container, is what they did was they took this particular vacuum container, and they added a molecule of DNA. So remember, DNA is what you and I are made of. And so they added this particular molecule of DNA in this vacuum container. And what they found was very interesting. They found that all these photons arranged themselves out of random order into an ordered order and around the DNA particle. So you can see that in a situation where you introduce DNA, that the light photons, the particles that the universe is made of, actually shapes itself to the energy of the DNA. Now, that was also what they had expected, but what they didn't expect is what would happen when they removed the piece of DNA from that environment. And that's what they did. The third photograph on this particular slide, on the right-hand side, is where when they removed the piece of DNA from the vacuum container, the photon patterns remained as if the DNA was there. So in other words, when a piece of DNA is introduced into an environment, the universe's minuscule particles, like photons, arrange themselves in response to that DNA. And when that particular physical DNA has been removed from the environment, the photons remain in that similar arrangement. Now, what does that tell you about you and I? Because we are nothing but DNA molecules, a community of DNA molecules. Is when we walk into a situation, when we engage others, and when we leave that situation, our essence and energy arranges the reality around that space. So if we go and we shine our heart and compassion into that particular area, perhaps it's a funeral that you want to help others heal, so you do your heart focused breathing technique or your heart coherence building technique, and you deposit a quantum of compassion into that area. All of the light energy, all of the photons that the universe is made of arranges themselves around your particular DNA, your essence. And when you physically leave that place, it is there and continues to do the work. And this is what I wanted to share with you. I wanted to share with you today that in 1990, a Russian scientist actually found the science behind spirituality, that which we had known. Eastern medicine has known, it is written in ancient scriptures, that we affect things around us through our energy. And so now let us begin to take this information and apply it when we do our next quick coherence technique. Interestingly enough, before we begin this, it's important to note that the essence of the DNA that we leave behind has a lot to do with our emotions that we're feeling at the time we're depositing that essence. When we're feeling compassion, that is the imprint that is left behind. And when we're feeling anxiety, and that is the imprint we're leaving behind. And so what is it that you want to leave behind in your wake? And now let us begin our quick coherence technique. Let us deposit our compassion so that when we leave this particular place, either forever or just temporarily as we move into another room, that we have rearranged the photons in this area such that it reflects our compassion. Let us begin. Let us place our awareness in the area of our heart. And let us take slow, deep breaths. Visualize these flowing in and out of our heart. Slow, deep breaths. Gentle, deep breaths. And now begin to experience a positive feeling, compassion, appreciation, peace. Because when you do that, each molecule of DNA in your body, and every cell has 64 molecules of DNA, and you have 100 trillion cells, imagine the impression you're leaving behind by generating this feeling of love and compassion in your heart and radiating it throughout your body. Slow, deep breaths. And visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. Beautiful. When you breathe in compassion, appreciation, gratitude, your heart purges away anxiety and stress, purges away frustration, because there's no room in your heart for both. And so with the intensity of this feeling of compassion, whatever visualizations that creates this particular emotion for you, bring that forward and melt away any anxiety or any fear that's in your body. And trust that the universe is here to support your well-being. And trust that when you claim your divinity, when you claim your right to joy and compassion and happiness, that the universe will deliver. Our only job is to receive it. And so claim your divinity, claim your grandeur, and know that compassion is your new norm, and joy is your new norm. That's your new normal. Slow, deep breaths. Thank you so much for participating. That is your 15-minute Monday morning espresso shot. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask. But if you have to leave, I completely understand. We'll open for another 15 minutes of Q&A, so please feel free to ask questions. All right? So I will just go and see what's out there. All right. So, good morning, Sandy. Glad you could join us. Joan, good afternoon. Will and Lou, speaking from Cryon, and the ground celebrates our very footprints as sacred space. Gaia knows and loves us Lemurians. Sure. You know what? It kind of lines up with what I said, and of course, I'm a big Cryon follower, and so yes, absolutely. You know, we talk about how the Gaia, which is Earth, recognizes us, and the recognition is in this: is that Earth is organic. You know, the physical ground that we step on is organic, and it has a magnetic field, and our hearts produce a magnetic field, and there's no surprise to us that these things connect and couple as we walk on Earth. So yes, the Earth is aware, and the photons rearrange themselves in our wake. So thank you for that. Sandy, this ties in with the post I put on my Facebook this morning. I look forward to checking in with that post. Thank you for that, Sandy. But yes, you know, one of the things that we are coming back to as a human, as humanity in general, is we're beginning to now see that there are much more deeper connections that we have with nature. And that is why there's such a big uproar around climate change. When there's a big uproar about destroying the environment, things like that. For some reason, human beings are becoming more connected with nature. And so sometimes human beings don't know consciously why they're protesting certain things. But from their heart, their gut, they are so connected that nature is actually speaking through them and saying, you are harming us, you are harming yourselves. And that's why human beings are so much aligned now, and speaking to nature, because the DNA, our DNA and our magnetic fields are so connected, and we can sense it now. Sandy, you have a comment here. If you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you'll always look lovely. And you've quoted Dahl. Yes, absolutely. You know what? This is one of the things that human beings are beginning to understand now. That when you are attracted to someone, whether it's a romantic attraction or just somebody that you want to hang around with, a platonic attraction, the attraction goes far beyond what they say, what they do, what they look like. It's the energy that you feel that is really dominating. And that is something that we're beginning to understand now, that why we're attracted to certain individuals and not to others. It's because we are drawn to energies first, before we're drawn to personalities in terms of physical personalities. Our DNA has a personality, and that is in the form of energy. Wonderful. Remind me of the Russian scientist's name. This is Will and Lou's comment. Yes, it is Poponin. I believe it is Poponin. You can actually go on YouTube and type in phantom DNA, and you will see that. You will see Poponin come up. As a matter of fact, I highly recommend the one by Greg Braden. When Greg Braden talks about Poponin, he puts everything in such a succinct manner that it's hard not to understand. For a layman, it's easy to understand. So Poponin is the Russian scientist. Vladimir, I think, was his first name. Good. Any other questions? Any other questions around this or any other topic? Wonderful. You're welcome, Lou and Will. I see somebody typing in, so I'll just wait a second or so. Oh, wonderful, Natalie. Thank you so much. Wonderful. If there are no more questions, of course, you can always send me a note. Email. I'm happy to respond. And we can go from there. All right? Take care, Loretta. Thank you, Sandy. Joan, pleasure. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. And I'll connect with you next week. Same time, same place. Take care.